We begin with important developments in the scrutiny over Governor Ron DeSantis and a $10 million donation that was made to the Hope Florida Foundation. Take a look.
The $10 million that were supposed to be returned to taxpayers were instead sent to Hope Florida Foundation, a nonprofit created to support First Lady Casey DeSantis' signature program. Part of the money was sent to Governor DeSantis' political fight against Constitutional Amendment No. 3, that, if approved, would have legalized recreational marijuana. According to the Tampa Bay Times, the $10 million that were diverted consisted of Medicaid dollars. The state drew up a settlement agreement that said Florida's largest Medicaid contractor, Centene, overbilled the state by $67 million. But instead of returning that entire amount to state and federal coffers, $10 million were sent to Hope Florida Foundation. The money was later sent to two nonprofits that are not required to report how they spend their funds. Those dark money groups later gave $8.5 million to a political committee overseen by DeSantis' chief of staff, James Othmeyer, to help defeat the amendment. Othmeyer, who was named Attorney General this year, said that he, quote, wasn't part of securing the deal that was struck, end quote.
And House lawmakers ended their probe of Hope Florida Foundation on Thursday without hearing from the group's lawyers or the leaders. But Representative Alex Andrade said on Thursday, and we quote, "While I firmly am convinced that James Othmeyer and Jeff Aaron engaged in a conspiracy to commit money laundering and wire fraud, and that several parties played a role in the misuse of $10 million in Medicaid funds, we as legislators will not be the ones making the ultimate charging decisions," end quote. Tom, I'd like to start with you. That is quite a loaded statement. Your reaction, what could happen next?
Well, he's sending a message to federal prosecutors. You're not going to get a real transparent review of this at the state level. Mm-hmm. So unless the federal government gets involved, a U.S. attorney, I think that's where this may be headed. Look, this was illegal, and this is not a new problem. In 2005, we passed a law that made it illegal to take lawsuit settlement dollars outside the General Appropriation Act or through the Legislative Budget Commission or on consultation with presiding officers, because we had at the time a statewide elected official who was running for governor, and there was concerns that people were getting sued and that settlement dollars were being diverted for political purposes. This is blatantly unlawful, and whoever was involved in this needs to be held accountable. I don't think it's the end of the world. I just wish our government would be more candid with the public. We can handle the truth and move on. But this is inappropriate, and that's before you get to where the money went and how the government put its thumb on the scales under this statewide referendum.
There's so many different layers to this story. The law firm that was working on this, the Mississippi law firm, going back to 2018, has stated that when they read the reports in the media on April the 8th, it was the first time that they had ever seen the word donation, that it was not included in any of the documents that they submitted to the state during their negotiations with Centene. Does that surprise you? That's very damning.
Well, yeah, it surprises me, but look, the end justifies the means sometimes these days in our government, and I think that's dangerous. But this money belonged to the taxpayers, plain and simple, and it should have gone back into the state coffers to be appropriated by the legislature, and it wasn't.
Jonathan, we've talked about all the different ways that the money was categorized in the documents in the final settlement, and I just wanted your reaction. You were talking about it with me in the green room. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about all of this?
I think this is the exact sort of dark, swampy politics that people are really concerned about when it comes to government these days. You know, this is a sentiment that now President, again, Donald Trump has tapped into with, his drain the swamp rhetoric. Even in the opening bit, we talked about how some of the groups that this money was channeled to already have extremely weak reporting requirements for what they're supposed to do with it, which is already an issue. But now you see this money coming in to a charity run by Casey DeSantis, this charity Hope is actually not even meeting that minimum requirement. They're not doing their required compliance. They haven't released a mission statement or an explanation of what they do with their funds. So they're not even meeting this already too low requirement. And frankly, if it was a charity run by anyone other than the governor's wife, I don't think that money would have been diverted in the first place. I am somewhat sad to see that the state legislature is giving up its investigation. I do also hope that we would see someone else pick that up. I think it's a little unfortunate that we live in a time where I don't necessarily know if it would be great for the federal government to pick it up, because we have already seen, as with the case with Mayor Adams in New York, that with Governor DeSantis being a key ally of the federal government right now, I don't necessarily know that people can trust that the government will handle that investigation, the federal government will handle that investigation appropriately.
Given the intense statement by Andrade, it certainly seems like they are pitching this and looking to federal investigators to take it to the next level. Mike, you've been an investigative reporter for so many years. I mean, where do you even begin to look at this?
A couple of things to talk about. Great work by the Tampa Bay Times, but the government tried to cover it up. In all candor, I've been a longtime member of the First Amendment Foundation, where we try to keep public records open. And the public records were hidden for such a long time. They slow walked it so long. Secondly, I think 4 years ago, if this had happened, the legislature wouldn't hop on, because DeSantis had the legislature just going and almost being bootlickers to whatever he said. He is now a lame duck governor. Yes. And he's not well liked. DeSantis, for some reason, has not made the connections that politicians do. And so now they're looking at this the way that they should, but I don't think this would have happened 4 years ago. I think that DeSantis is in a lot of trouble politically unless he gets appointed as Secretary of Defense. Following his term, he will fade into obscurity. He had hoped that his wife's candidacy would keep him in the public eye. I don't think she has a chance of getting the nomination, and I don't think he has any political career past this, unless again he
this
gets
may tarnish him.
Oh yeah,
that point.
It is. It's a rough spot, and as Tom said, the legislature in 2005 made this absolutely illegal. There is no question about it, and there should be prosecution, and I hope the feds step in.